post out. We'll let that kind of reach a few more folks so we don't oversaturate Facebook and get rate limited. And alright, we are now live on Twitter, YouTube, and within our mobile app via Twitch. Let me go ahead and get rid of the Telestrator line since it is both ugly and obviously out of date. Time is 11:19 p.m. on the 28th of April 2020. I am David Reimer in my bold gloriness. We do have a severe weather event ongoing this evening with thunderstorms now from Eastland all the way to Mineral Wells, Weatherford, through the DFW Metroplex, up Highway 121 to Leonard Wolf City, Paris, Clarksville, DeKalb, Texarkana. Most of these storms are severe at this point, but not all of them are as severe as others. These storms are capable of producing winds of 60 to 75 miles per hour, the potential for quarter to golf ball size hail. Let me first off start by reducing some of the city names we have as to not oversaturate your screen. We'll load a animation over the last 30 minutes to an hour, and you'll see these are booking at southeast at 30 to 50 miles an hour. Now, these storms from Denton, Fort Worth west are more cellular in nature with the potential for hail and damaging winds. The storm in Dallas, Rockwall County, that thing is bowing out. That is a bow echo. That's capable of producing hurricane force winds and significant straight line wind damage. All right, take that seriously. We've got a squall line from north of Greenville now to just south of Paris over towards Avery, north of Texarkana. It doesn't look as impressive on radar because the radar is looking farther away, but that is also capable of producing 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, potential for nickel to quarter size hail. What I do want to focus on, though, specifically is these little bowing segments. You see how these are starting to bow out? It looks like a bow. That is because we have winds pushing these thunderstorms out. So it causes a bow shape and helps accelerate the forward rate of movement with these storms. And the result has been 70 to 80 mile an hour winds just reported in Richardson within the last 5 minutes. And those storms are continuing to push southeast. We had a 58 mile an hour wind gust at DFW International Airport, a 78 mile per hour wind gust in Richardson. And this storm, specifically the bow echo, is moving southeast at a good, well, let's just figure out, about 50 miles an hour. So this is going to be in, let's just say downtown Dallas in about 5 to 10 minutes. Mesquite, probably less than 10 minutes. Rockwall, yeah, pretty much now. Southeast Dallas, Seagoville, within the next 20 minutes. It's going to be making its way towards Kaufman County thereafter. Seagoville, area where Steve McCauley lives. Just some random notes. That's public information. He has a beautiful property out there. So Steve McCauley's probably going to be having some interesting storm footage coming soon. Storms themselves farther northeast are also moving southeast at close to 40 to 50 miles an hour. They're going to be capable of producing winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour within their strongest segments in places like Greenville, Talco, Mount Pleasant, all the way up to Texarkana, New Boston, within the next, and of course Sulphur Springs, within the next 1 hour. So my main concern tonight is now that these are starting to organize in the wind department, I am quite concerned we're going to have a lot of wind damage in portions of East Texas over the next few hours. Winds knock over trees. Wet soils make it easier for trees to get knocked over. Trees fall on homes, trees fall on businesses, trees fall on roads and block roads. Trees also tend to fall on cars. Trees and roads may not be seen in the middle of the night when it's raining until you're up on it and it's too late to stop. You smash into the tree and you're dead. That's a legitimate concern. It's happened many times, so please, do not park your cars under trees. After the storms are done, let crews clear roadways before you go out trying to drive in the morning in areas that may be dealing with wind damage. And I think we're going to have a lot of wind damage in portions of East Texas and Northeast Texas over the next 2 to 3 hours. And here you can see bow echo now moving into Rockwall. The apex of the bow is moving into Rockwall. So those of you in Rockwall, you're likely getting 50, 60, maybe even 70 mile an hour winds. Looks like we have some 60-mile-an-hour winds just southwest of Dallas Love Field, near Interstate 35E at the Commonwealth, moving towards West Dallas, moving towards Interstate 30 and Hampton Road. Going to be making its way towards Cockrell Hill, the industrial district near Interstate 30 there. We'll switch over to a product to see if we have any hail showing up, and I don't think we're going to have too much in the way of hail. Give me just a second. We'll get this data loaded. And radar is really not detecting much in the way of hail with these storms. The potential for maybe some nickel to quarter-size hailstones. Now we could see some quarter to ping-pong ball-size hail with the more individual discrete storms out. Well, there's a new warning for that. Out near Weatherford. Then with a potential for golf ball-size hail now southwest of Ranger Hill, which I don't actually think exists as of a few weeks ago. I think they opened the new stretch of I-20. So, yeah. From Cisco to Ranger, moving southeast towards Gorman down Highway 6, eventually passing a bit east of Rising Star. Should pass near or west of De Leon. Eventually could be a threat to Comanche in about 1 to 1.5 hours. We'll switch back to the how hard it's raining mode. We'll take a look at each individual thunderstorm because why the heck not? So, ooh, look at that hail core. That thing's got some hail over Eastland right now. We're probably going to be hearing about that sooner than later. We'll switch to a closer radar, and oh yeah, that thing's got some mean-looking hail. Probably golf ball-size hail at least. The potential for perhaps even larger than that. The storms in southern Oklahoma that looked like that earlier made baseballs, so yeah, this thing could be producing golf ball to even perhaps tennis ball size hail moving into Carbon on Highway 6 now, perhaps right over Eastland at Interstate 20. Going to be moving south-southeast towards Highway 36 between Comanche and Rising Star in about an hour. Could pass very near or just west of Gorman. I pressed the wrong button, so now everything reset, and oh look, it's the country. Now you can see there's severe storms all the way to Memphis, Tennessee. Heading back to Fort Worth, we have a conglomerate of thunderstorms just attacking the Metroplex at this point. Strongest of these storms are producing some small hail, maybe nickel-sized hail, winds 55 to 70 miles an hour. The Bow Echo currently attacking Rockwall and northeast Dallas County from near Garland, just north of Mesquite over to Rockwall, could be producing winds of 70-plus miles an hour as those move southeast at 50 miles an hour. So those of you in Kaufman County, Terrell, Oak Grove, Kaufman proper, Kemp, down to Gun Barrel City, over to Canton, heads up, this Bow Echo's heading your way quickly. Could be one of those longer-lived straight-line wind threats, so definitely are going to have to keep an eye on that. Terrell, Kaufman, Canton, Wills Point. Storms up on the Red River in northeast Texas extend from just north of Greenville now to Commerce to Cooper, over to Bogota, Taco to New Boston, over to Texarkana. We'll switch over to the Shreveport radar to try and get a different look. And indeed, the storms look much more intense from the Shreveport radar. So, thunderstorms capable of producing 60 to 70 mile an hour winds from near New Boston to Talco to Cooper to Greenville, moving southeast at 40 to 50 miles per hour. We'll switch over to the which way the wind is blowing mode and how hard. And yeah, that looks really weird, but we are looking pretty high up in the storms. And just based off the ingredients we have tonight and some of these Boeing shapes we're seeing, where winds are pushing out the thunderstorms, definitely potential, if not likelihood, for damaging straight-line winds, which can knock down trees and cause power outages. Don't park your car under a tree tonight, folks. If you can help it, don't park near trees, because we could be looking at a lot of trees coming down with these storms tonight. Trees fall on cars. Trees fall on roadways. If you can avoid driving after the storms hit, I do so. There may be a lot of trees down in spots, and you may not be able to see the trees in the middle of the night until it's too late and you have an incident. And that's a nice way of saying you may smash into a tree. Just taking a quick breather, look over some data. I guess we can start our Facebook live stream back up while I'm thinking about it. And while we do that, and ooh, look at that hail core southeast of Eastland. That thing is mad. That thing could be producing tennis ball size hail as it heads toward Comanche. Alright, let's get back on the Facebook Lives. We'll press the loopy button on the radar, because who doesn't like a good radar loop? And to those asking specific questions about, is it going to be bad at my home, I can't answer all those just because we would have thousands of people trying to ask about their backyard. The best advice I can give you is if you are southeast of this squall line to the Gulf Coast, so at this point, say north of an Austin to Victoria line, points east to Louisiana, you could have storms tonight. Some of those storms could be severe with hail and especially damaging winds. We just put out a detailed blog update explaining what's going on right now and then what we expect for the remainder of the night into the morning hours on Wednesday downstream of these storms. You can find that detailed update over on our website at texasstormchasers.com. It'll be the first link that pops up. We published it about 20 minutes ago. So that will give you the information you hopefully are looking for. We've got interactive weather radar on our website as well and within our free mobile app. We've been streaming in our mobile app as well for the last hour and a half. So now that we have a bunch of folks joining us, let me go ahead and zoom on out and do a regional refresh. I'm David Reimer with Texas Storm Chasers. It is 11:31 on the 28th of April 2020, working a severe weather event that is only just beginning and will continue for probably the next 7 to 8 hours as a line of severe thunderstorms now extending from south of Eastland, Texas, moving towards Comanche. It extends all the way through the DFW Metroplex to, well, Texarkana. Not all storms are severe, but we do have several storms that are capable of producing hail and damaging straight-line winds. The main hail threat right now extends from just west of Fort Worth to a discrete supercell just south of Eastland. Potential of 60 to 75 mile-an-hour winds with the most intense storms from downtown Dallas to Greenville, all the way out to Texarkana through Sulphur Springs, through Mount Pleasant, through Boston to Texarkana. And those storms don't have as high of a hail threat, but they have the higher threat of producing significant widespread wind damage over the next 2 to 3 hours as they move south towards Canton, Tyler, Longview, Gilmer, and then eventually they'll make it all the way south to the Gulf Coast by about 7 a.m. So we'll talk about each of them. We'll go through it, and we will go over what we expect for the next several hours. After that, we'll only talk about the most intense storms in great detail simply because I am one person and my shiny bald head simply can't keep up with 24 storms ongoing simultaneously. So if we're talking about your storm, probably not a good thing. If we're not talking about your storm, the strongest storms tonight could produce quarter to golf ball size hail. There is an exception in that the supercells south of Eastland could be producing much larger hail. And the squall line itself, the most intense portions of that line could be producing winds over 70 miles an hour, perhaps hurricane force, and that's capable of knocking a lot of trees down, especially considering how wet we've been over the winter and early spring months. Soils are saturated, trees can get uprooted a lot easier. So we'll go from west to east. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing tennis ball size hail. That's enough to break windows near Carbon, Texas on Highway 6. That's going to be moving towards Gorman in the next 15 minutes. It's on Highway 6 now from just south of Interstate 20 to Carbon over to Gorman. This storm should pass west of DeLeon unless it takes a bit of a left turn. And this could be a direct threat to Comanche in about 1 to 1.5 hours. Again, this storm is producing some pretty damaging hail, and that is the strongest storm in the hail department in the state of Texas at the moment. Now, extending farther northeast, that's where we transition to more of a linear storm mode, where we have a higher threat of damaging straight-line winds and a lower threat of the big hail. We have storms from near Annetta South to Mansfield to downtown Dallas to just northwest of Terrell, southeast of Rockwall, over to Farmersville, Greenville, all the way up to Cooper, Talco. I'm going to switch radars real quick to give you a better view. Switch back in. From near Cooper, Talco, just north of Mount Pleasant, over to New Boston and Texarkana. The strongest of these storms, excuse me, are capable of producing winds of 70 miles per hour, the potential of nickel to quarter size hail. What I want you to notice is you see how several of these storms are bowing. For example, from Cooper to Talco, you see how it kind of bows with the apex of that bow right over Highway 271? That's where we could be seeing localized hurricane force winds and a significant threat of wind damage, including a lot of trees getting knocked down that can fall on vehicles, homes, and roadways. Back farther west, we have other bowing structures. We're going to switch back to the weather radar, and you can see we've got one nasty bow passing just south of Royce City, northwest of Terrell. We could have winds of 75 plus miles an hour right on Highway 205 moving towards Terrell, Forney over the next 5 to 10 minutes, and this thunderstorm is going to impact Kaufman and Van Zant counties over the next 30 minutes. The potential for quarter-size hail winds of 65, perhaps 75 miles per hour. This storm's moving southeast now at 50 miles an hour. The squall line farther northeast and northeast Texas, is moving at 50 miles per hour as well. Storms back farther west in the Metroplex aren't as organized, but they are capable of producing some hail and some 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. They're moving southeast at 50 miles per hour, and we'll probably see those tend to grow more organized as they move south-southeast over the next hour. Finally, you've got mean angry hail supercell on the west edge of all of this, passing over Corbin to Gorman, moving southeast towards Comanche over the next 1 to 2 hours. So let me go ahead and turn off I'm going to turn all of this off for now, except warnings, and then we're going to take a look at the severe thunderstorm watch. This purple, pink box, whatever, is a severe thunderstorm watch that goes until 4 a.m. Wednesday, and that goes all the way south to Belton, goes all the way south to Burton and Brenham, Huntsville, Lufkin, into Louisiana. And at some point later tonight, I expect we'll see an additional watch potentially issued for the remainder of southeast Texas, the Golden Triangle, the Piney Woods of East Texas, and perhaps the remainder of the Brazos Valley, and maybe a little bit of central Texas around Austin as well. So these storms are going to make their way to the coast by sunrise. So pretty much if you are southeast of this line from San Saba to Austin to Victoria, points east, you could be seeing storms overnight. If you are from College Station, Houston, points east, yeah, you're going to have storms later tonight. Some of those storms are going to be severe with a threat of damaging straight-line winds, perhaps significant straight-line winds, maybe some hail. We can't rule out some brief spin-up tornadoes overnight, but we're not really worried about a long-lived significant tornado threat. We're far more concerned about the more widespread threat of damaging straight-line winds. So, I'm David Reimer of Texas Storm Chasers. We'll keep you all up to date overnight. We encourage you to stay tuned to local weather sources, your television stations, your local National Weather Service office. Have a couple ways to receive weather warnings overnight. Again, I am worried about those in East Texas because there's a lot of trees. They can get knocked down easily because soils have been saturated, and these storms are capable of producing some nasty winds. So I am worried we're going to have some problems if we have trees falling through homes or something, or trees block a bunch of roads and then someone drives into the tree and ends up, unfortunately, having a fatality. So, and that's just experience, unfortunately. So, we'll keep an eye on things overnight. But yes, it's going to be a loud night in southern North Texas. I'm sorry for hitting you, microphone. It's going to be a loud night in southern North Texas. It's going to be a loud night in the Brazos Valley. It's going to be a loud night across portions of central Texas, East Texas, and then by morning, around the time you'd be driving into work, for those of you still driving into work, this will be moving into the Houston area, Harris County. So, again, not all these storms are going to be severe. The threat for severe weather will become lower as these storms make their way towards the coast, but I think we're going to have a lot of wind issues overnight, including potentially by morning in Houston, Port Arthur, Beaumont. Looks like College Bryan Station, maybe around 4 a.m. over to Livingston. And we'll have to see how far west these storms are able to materialize. As we turn the regional radar back on, you'll be able to see that we don't have many storms west of Interstate 35. We've got a supercell south of Eastland moving towards Comanche, but otherwise the squall line's struggling to develop out west. Depending on how far west this gets, we'll have to keep an eye on Austin, but I don't think we're going to have issues in San Antonio. We may have some showers, maybe a few storms by morning, but the threat for severe weather will be much higher northeast, where we have a solid line of storms and the potential for significant straight line winds. So you can keep track of the storms with our interactive weather radar over on our website and in our mobile app. We're going to continue with live video coverage in our mobile app. It won't be organized, but I'll be talking and we'll just look over some things and chit chat. So if you want to join us over there, you can do that in our mobile app. It's in the App Store. It's free, Texas Storm Chasers. Or you can just go to our website and click on the mobile app download banner. So otherwise, I'm David Reimer. We'll be doing several more of these videos overnight, and we'll be keeping an eye on things. So please stay weather aware. And don't be scared, just be prepared. I mean, it's spring in Texas. We're not talking about mile-wide tornadoes coming down your street, but if we have one brief tornado tonight and it happens to come down your street, it's still going to be a big deal. So, alrighty, I'm going to get off here and go find a throat lozenge because obviously I've been talking too much. So, we'll chat with y'all again in a bit. Thanks for joining.